Get ready to chime in. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
My name is Paul B. I'm coming in remotely from out of town. Buddy is in the studio. What's going on with y'all this morning? Appreciate you, chat chimers and ghost listeners and monitoring spirits getting up early this morning. It is the 19th of August already.
Man,
And yeah, man. Happy Monday morning to all. Hope that your weekend went well. We definitely got lots of things to talk about today. And of course, with the new format where we will hit the news hard right now. So there's, we're going to try to catch up on some things for sure and welcome your comments. And then in the second hour, we'll have even more of a discussion of some of the topics of the day. But in the meantime, between time, I was really looking forward to this show today. Like I said, I was out of town. I didn't know if I was going to make it this morning, but I wanted to make it because lots going on. And I always set the tone to talk to you guys on a Monday this way and, talk about what just happened, what's coming up, and how everybody feels about what's going on and what's in the news for us, which is the most important part. So we call ourselves Omaha News with a East Side focus.
Hey,
and yeah, man. And we can't do it without you. The people that we're discussing these things with, the chat chimers, the people that give us the feedback. So can't wait to hear your comments. Can't wait to hear your questions. Of course, this is a Monday, so we're going to have the senators on this morning as well. Senator Terrell McKinney, Senator Justin Wayne will be on today, and we can talk about a few things as well. Everybody else seems to be out of town. Everybody else seems to be in Chicago. We'll see if Senator McKinney can show up here this morning because we saw him chilling out there. As a matter of fact, Precious posted some pictures of the crew of the Omaha, Nebraska representing out there at the DNC.
All right.
Yeah, I see him hiding back there. And of course, Kimra Snipes hit us up and said we're going out and report back. What does she want us to report back to us? So she's out there as a correspondent. You know her taking notes and making sure she's taking notes for everything that's going on there. Kimra decided she was not going to be a Democrat. So I was surprised she's going out to the DNC. Yeah. We got to ask her about her strategy. But lots going on. And hopefully we'll have a special guest on today to be able to talk a little bit more about it. But if not, you know where they're at.
There you go. Also, in the meantime, Mama Guy reminding us to remind you all, like, follow, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell on YouTube. Again, definitely help us out, by, again, following us on YouTube, making sure we grow that. And, we appreciate everybody for tuning in right now. And as Paul said, let's go ahead and dive into it here in the new format, Season 1B, as we're calling it. Again, if you don't know, or if you're just now tuning in and catching us, we'd like to focus here on the first hour and the news that's happening in our communities, in our backyards. Then, of course, in the second hour, we lean more and kind of loosen the ties, if you will, and then jump more into some looser conversations. So again, as always, let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Definitely drop into the chat if you have any additions to the stories that we'll be talking about. And definitely if you have any, updates or anything we're not talking about that you feel like we should be, some breaking news, feel free to drop that into the chat. In the meantime, between time, we'd like to kick things off with some local news, what's happening in the community, maybe some things that you have missed, Paul, over the weekend. I know that Jazz on the Green went down for the last time over the weekend. I missed the beginning of it. Looks like you missed the end of it.
No, actually, I caught it. I was in town for that. I rolled by and hopped out for a minute. Packed. Everybody in the city came out for Big Wade and Black Swan Theory.
Yeah. I'm hearing good vibes there at the the Jazz on the Green that went down. So again, if anybody went out there, let us know how you feel. Let us know what the vibes are in the city on that.
Also, that was his. Let me tell you about that though, real quick.
Please.
Big Wade released an album that day. That was the whole purpose of the release, playing on the last Jazz on the Green, and it's called Live at the Jewel, and it's banging. So definitely check out Big Wade, the Black Swan Theory, Live at the Jewel, wherever you get music, because it's off the chain.
Man, they still got it. They still get it down, man. So again, big shout out to everybody who stepped out and supported Big Wade and the Black Swan Theory, because they still get down. Also, again, big shout out to everybody who making it happen with the North Omaha initiative. Again, we kind of talked about that with the UNO. Did anybody go to that? That also went down last Thursday. North Omaha initiative, the new Black Studies program for UNO and team with the Urban League of Nebraska. Again, did anybody check that out? Definitely would love to hear some feedback on that. Now, also, happy birthday. This is something that we missed, but again, big shout out to everybody who jumped into that on the Friends of, and happy birthday, happy belated birthday to Senator Terrell McKinney.
Hey.
Yeah. Again, celebrating life, as Paul mentioned, we'll be having the senators a little later on in the show. So looking forward to that, getting some updates and really getting a pulse of what's going on as far as the legislature, because that's also went down over the weekend. Apparently, senators got together on Saturday and I had a meeting, and again, a couple filibusters since the last time we met here on the show. And a few bills passing. So again, getting an update on what's going on in the legislature, really get a pulse of where the debates are. Again, a lot of tension happening in our legislature over what's happening with property taxes. Some of the other bills that's coming out in tandem with the property tax bill. So again, a lot of changes. Also, speaking of that, a little later on, we will be talking about what's going on with the Supreme Court situation. So in all, definitely looking forward to speaking to the senators a little later on. I also want to give a shout out to brother Hassani Lee, who's still fighting his battle. Again, he has another date coming up, court date on August 27th. A big shout out to everybody who has been supporting that brother in his fight. And it's not just him, but again, all tenants. He's educating and supporting really tenants' rights in general, not just public housing, but any housing. Again, if you are a tenant, if you rent, brother Hassani Lee is definitely fighting the good fight for you. So you want to pay close attention to that. And again, if anybody who's supporting that case want to continue to do so, August 27th, court day, you can find more information on Friends of First Guy Omaha, again, on Facebook. That's our group page, Friends of First Guy Omaha on Facebook.
We'll have him on soon too to get us caught up on what's going on with his court case, and maybe rally a bunch of people to go help support him going down to the courthouse with him to support. So, well, you'll be hearing from him soon as well.
Yep. And last but not least, I see him earlier in the chat, our brother Kasim, Captain Q, as we like to call him. Big shout out to what you're doing with the young men and the Urban Survival Club. I love seeing what we're seeing with the greenhouses and what you have moving forward. Again, if there's any more information about how young men in our community can get involved, we definitely need that. Again, we don't really talk about these types of stories too much on this show, but I did see in the headlines 4 young men were tied to a recent homicide in the community. And again, mentorship, leadership, manhood. We definitely need as many programs like these to steer the young men in the right directions as we can get. Of course, we know Captain Q and your team, can only help as many as you can, but we appreciate the work that you are doing. So again, big shout out to you and the young men, the parents that are all involved. Again, love seeing that. We need more of that because we're seeing too much of the other stuff. So with that, again,
also, brother Kasim, I'm sorry, brother Kasim at the BAA. They're definitely still out here helping these kids and putting them through these programs. But these programs need funds, so we're going to start up a rally with them in order to really kind of rally up some money. You can kind of give me an idea how much it costs for each kid to kind of go through the program. So we'll put some of those things together with him coming soon. But get ready to donate to really help that out. Every dollar that we put to what the BAA is doing is going directly to a kid and making our city what it needs to be for these young people.
Man, yeah, building leaders, man. So again, big shout out to brother Kasim and the BAA and all the work that they're putting in, man. We need it. So with that, let's go ahead and keep it moving. Jump into what we will be talking about today here as far as the news goes. Again, a lot of updates, a lot of headlines, and a lot of conversation to be had. So as always, let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Feel free to jump into the chat. As we mentioned, looking forward to speaking to the senators. Put some respect on their name, Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne. Again, a lot of changes in the legislature. And actually, a lot of bills that the senators are tied to making headlines. One of the biggest ones, voting rights for felons, making its way to the Supreme Court. Again, the Secretary of State of Nebraska chiming up, essentially saying he's not going to follow the law, which is very, very interesting. So we'll be talking about that, especially with so much going on in regards to the election and just this year in general. A lot of issues going on in the ballot. Of course, education still a big topic going to the ballot. But who will be able to vote on that? So again, looking at the situation in the Supreme Court for voting rights for felons, will they be able to have their voices heard this upcoming November? Also, speaking of voices being heard, debates still going on in the legislature as, again, Governor Pillen continues to push his property tax plan. It's looking pretty contentious, as I mentioned. Several filibusters since the last time we met here on this show. So again, definitely looking forward to having more information about that from the senators. Also looking for more information from you, the listeners, especially those of you who made it down to Tim Walz's visit to Omaha. Again, it looks like it was thousands and thousands of Nebraskans in support of Tim Walz. Again, he is running as Kamala Harris's, running mate, again, elected for VP. So we'll see how that plan pans out. And again, we'd definitely love to hear your take on that situation. Looks like the energy was high, but yeah, let us know what you felt in that situation. Also, Nebraska Board of Education is launching a literacy program. If you remember, we spoke with Dr. Umar Johnson, or Umar Ifatunde, as we like to call him. Again, he reminded us that third grade is kind of that marker. If, again, literacy rates aren't up to par by third grade, then the likelihood of our youth falling into the preschool to prison pipeline is elevated. So definitely looking at what's going on with literacy rates in light of some of the graduation numbers that have come out, especially with OPS as of recent. So again, a lot of conversation to have on that situation. And of course, a few things happening in regards to housing, current and constant conversation we have. Some residents who are still reeling from the storms that happened, and now they're dealing with some mold, some mice, some pests in their living area. So again, we'll be talking about that and more throughout the next 2 hours, live here on First Guy Omaha in the morning. In the meantime, between time, Paul B.
Yo.
What's the word, man?
Man, I'm seeing Gwen Easter in the chat giving us a good morning. So she'll definitely go support Mr. Lee. So appreciate that very much. Mama God is asking about the Fight the Tower shirts. And yes, we do still have those. We're still raising money for that Underwood Tenants group that Brother Hassani Lee is heading up. And so we definitely have some of those things too. You can hit us up by sending us an email to firstsky.omaha@gmail.com. Get your public housing Fight the Tower shirt. Part of the proceeds go to the tenants group. And also we still have a few limited edition Sky collaborations as well that some of the proceeds will go to that tenants group as well. So yeah, hit us up and let us know if you're interested in that. Somebody will reach out to you for that. And coming soon, we'll just have the code ready for you and the website up. For you to be able to go right there and catch up and, just be around all the merch that we're going to be able to start dropping here as well. We kind of find that putting things together in collaboration with some of these campaigns that we're always talking about or being able to help people in the community, tie these things to it. And making part of the proceeds be able to go to that is a good way to help raise some funds too, just to get people interested in put it out there in the universe that this is what's happening and this is how we can help, and that piece of merch can be a gentle reminder for that, and also just a way for you to support. So be looking for that. We're gonna step up that campaign a lot more as well as we go, and we appreciate everybody who's done that already. I see Kimmer in the chat. She's live from Chicago right now. They're deep out there in Chicago in a big way. So we appreciate you going out there, Kimmer. Appreciate that very much. And we heard your call that you're going to be the correspondent for us out there. So yeah, we can't wait to see your notes and hear the highlights. And check in with us if there's things going on here that you think we need to see right away. Let us know. And really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to go down and see what's happening there. So.
Big time.
Appreciate that. Yeah, big time. Mama God said it was a nice ending this summer on the green. Yeah, jazz on the green. Wasn't a whole lot of jazz, but I didn't mind it. Especially the accent they brought down there, and especially Big Wayne, the Black Swan Theory, man, killing the game. I just put you like this. They was playing some Parliament Funkadelic on this new album. Get the album. Tell me. Right. Yeah, it went down. I see Anthony Rogers Wright. We asked, what was your opinion? How did you feel about the rally, the Walls rally? Definitely Anthony Rogers Wright has an opinion on that. But before we get into that, you want to go ahead and jump into the article, and then we'll bring that up in a second here.
Yeah. So again, a big shout out to everybody who is voicing their opinion on that. Let your mind be free, let your voice be heard, yes, especially if you have a first-hand account of the situation, because again, there was a lot of Nebraskans out very excited supporting Tim Walz, and let us know what your take on the whole situation was or is, and how's it going to be, man? How is this going to turn up? How does this impact your view on the election? Does this kind of, again, inspire you, or are you still not sold? Again, definitely love to hear your take. It definitely seems like Tim Walz was inspired by his visit to Nebraska, kind of doubling down on his connection to the state, saying it feels good to be home. He took the stage on Saturday, according to Omaha World Herald. Says, "I have to admit, it feels pretty good to be back home." Again, Tim Walz has been selected as the running mate for Kamala Harris. Again, pushing for VP and look into Nebraska, the blue dot, if you will, to kind of help them get that job done. Saying, "I grew up as all of you did, bleeding Nebraska red, but now I'm the governor of Gopher Nation," reminding everyone of his position as a governor of Minnesota. And again, urging voters to really create a blue tsunami really across the state. I definitely love to hear your take on what that means or what that will look like, or really the possibility of that, especially given some of the issues, of course, that he's attacking. Abortion, definitely a big one here in Nebraska. Of course, we've seen a lot of movement. I think there's actually been a few cases, few people being convicted in connection to abortion attempts here in the state. And it was Walz's former high school student who did the talking on stage. But again, Aubrey Falsman, who was again a former high school student in alliance with Walz, says he made Minnesota the first state to pass a law codifying abortion rights after Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade. I don't know how that's going to fare in a red state as far as votes go, but that is one of the issues that was addressed during this rally. Also, taxes, of course, we'll be getting into that a little later on here in the state. But taxes was definitely something that Walz also addressed during the rally, saying cutting taxes for not for billionaires, but for the folks in this room in the middle class, approaching the end of his time on stage. Again, Walz also flexed as Nebraska upbringing as he attacked the GOP ticket, the Grand Old Party, as we like to call them, saying, "Do you think JD Vance knows one damn thing about Nebraska?" Which again, kind of have my own feelings about billionaires in the tax situation. But again, let us know how you're feeling about Walz. Were you convinced about some of the issues that he addressed, kind of echoing some of the things that we heard from Kamala Harris, as far as addressing the middle class and supporting the middle class? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that, Paul? What say you?
Yep. Well, what say me is I was out of town when that rally happened, but I got word from everybody. Of course, everybody hit us up
Yep.
talking about it. Earlier in the chat, Judy Prenzler said that she went and it was great. I saw Kimmer in the chat saying that she says it was a rally. She said at the rally. I can't lie, Walz impressed me. So there's some people here that were impressed by the whole situation, of course, encouraged, and everybody who we would really talk to about their excitement about this appointment is probably at the DNC right now. Precious McKesson and everybody else who we can hear from even more about that. But there were some people that wasn't impressed. Anthony Rogers right in the chat says that rally was trash. Not one speaker mentioned the genocide in Gaza, and I don't even know what the hell Tony Vargas was saying. And unfortunately, Mr. Love's remarks were filled with inaccuracies. Ignoring anti-genocide protesters ain't gonna work in Chi-Town, where we're expecting 100,000 folks to take the streets all week. So yeah, with that DNC rally right there, of course, there's always protests, but it sounds like there's going to be even more people protesting this time around. So yeah, that's definitely a issue. That's definitely part of what's going on here. We've been talking to people from all sides, and they're hearing it. There's a lot of buzz and excitement going on right now in the city for Walz, but not the whole of Nebraska, and not even the whole of Omaha. So there's a lot there, but people, it seems for the most part, people are very excited. That particular rally, everybody called and said they kind of reported news back to us and said there was like 3,000 people that were trying to get into the situation and could not get in because it was full. So they packed out the arena, and everybody seems to be rallying. On a personal note, I definitely have friends on Facebook that have been chiming in that seem very excited, even people who weren't really excited about politics at all. Very excited about this pick and about Kamala Harris being the nominee now. So it's really interesting right now. A lot of excitement, a lot of stuff going on here for sure.
Man, here for the Kamaha. The Kamaha signs.
I haven't seen those. I have not seen those. Shout out to Sean McCarthy giving us a good morning as well. Appreciate that very much. Also, Kimmer says I'm also biased because I love people who dedicate their time to our youth. How teaching and coaching experiences speak to me. I guess that was part of it with him, huh?
Yeah, really they're calling Nebraska Hearts coach talking about Walz's years as a high school football coach.
Well, it looks like we're going to hear more of it. Anthony Rogers Wright says WPFW will be on the ground in Chi-Town interviewing lots of folks in the streets. So definitely, they're definitely going to talk to people who are out there protesting as well. Says Jill Stein and her new Black Muslim running mate, among many others. Yeah, so that I forgot about that piece of news as well. So we definitely want to reach back out, man. Hopefully, we can get Jill Stein back on. We'd love to talk to her again as well, especially about her pick and what's the status of things now that Kamala Harris is in the race and so on. So hopefully, if you remember, we had her on at one point. So shout out to Anthony Rogers Wright for hooking that up. Maybe you can hook it up again, and we can have her back and talk about what's going on with her. So shout out. Also, he says, congrats to the DNC delegates who have 4,000 to spend week partying in Chicago. Good for you. Good for you lot.
All right.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah, drops the mic.
Yeah. He says, do you like how he met with his Jewish constituents but canceled a meeting with his Muslim Arab constituents while waiting in his office? Anthony Rogers Wright is out here really,
he's on fire.
He's on fire, and he's definitely bringing some things out that it's easy to get caught up in the hype, easy to get caught up in what's going on. So remembering the facts, remembering everything else that's going on too, and weighing all of it for sure. Maggie Miller Jenkins in the chat, good morning, says it's rather disappointing that dead children locally and abroad is not taking point for politicians with solutions. On average, there are 2 mass shootings per day. Where's the gun reform platform? Where's the anti-war platform? People's measurements of good candidates are so skewed, in my opinion. Very good comment. Appreciate that very much. Yeah. I can see that. Being a point. Everybody's kind of sitting there waiting to hear where people stand on certain things or what they plan on doing about the actual problems of today. We get a lot. Sometimes we get a lot of I'll cut inflation. And hey, that's great, but yeah, dead kids. Maybe we can talk about some other things as well. So, just trying to present both parts of these things. I can say we can get caught up in the rally, and there's some good things about what's happening as well on all sides, of course. But yeah, we got to remember what the important things are.
Yeah, and to that point, I do appreciate what Brother Anthony Rogers Wright is just kind of alluding to and saying, as far as just what are the people saying, what are the people doing. What are the streets kind of talking about, if you will? What are people protesting about? Not getting caught up in either side of it. Either side, whether you lean Democratic or Republican. What are the issues and how are the people responding to these issues? Which I definitely do appreciate. And I say that to say, JD Vance will be making his way to Omaha pretty soon as well. So you have your opportunity to get both sides of the spectrum. But again, where do you fall within that spectrum is a real question. Right. So again, big thank you to everybody who's chiming in on that situation. Last comment, Cameron kind of replying to Brother Anthony Rogers Wright, saying some of us know how to travel with other people to save money. Talking about that $4,000 budget, says I wish I would spend $4,000.
Hey, Chicago ain't but what 6 hours away from us?
Yeah,
like that?
6 to 8.
Yeah, you might want to make that drive. Check it out.
So,
shout out to them. I saw a picture that Precious put up with she said Omaha's out there representing. So there's some, we got Brother McKinney who's out there. Oh, and by the way, I just got a message from Senator Wayne. He's not going to be able to make it today, and we don't know if Senator McKinney's going to chime in. He surprises us sometimes with coming in when he's on the road, but he's out there at the DNC right now, so he may not hear from him today. But we know that they're out there representing as well. There's the cameras in the picture there too. So shout out to you guys that went out and kind of took the trip and took the time and is going out and seeing what's up. Especially Kimra, seeing as that she decided she wasn't going to be a Democrat. So for you to go and really pay that much attention again, I really can't wait to hear your notes and see what you have to say about things, because you're going to be trying to look at them with an eye that we appreciate. Your viewpoint. So I appreciate that. She says people be talking and don't know what they're talking about. I got my ticket for $11.
All right.
All right, they battling now.
Hey, let them know. Hey. We count nobody's pockets. Man. But I do want to kind of maybe put a pin in this for a little later on in the show.
Absolutely.
And finish with this. And I am curious about those who are in Chicago. What's the conversation around Nebraska and Omaha in general, as far as the role that we play? Again, we've learned from Precious that Nebraska and the blue dot, if you will, is kind of has a national spotlight from time to time. And as we were learning, especially from the Tim Walz visit to Omaha, that the blue dot is something that folks are looking at, folks are considering. Again, they're saying the goal is to keep the blue dot blue. And Paul, you and I, this is now what our second time around, kind of looking at the blue dot and really kind of considering it, being aware of it, really. And I kind of want to get your take on that a little later on in the show. As far as the blue dot, how are we feeling about that whole situation? So
for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Again, let's put a pin into that. We are about halfway through the show. I don't know, Paul. What you think? You want to take a break? You want to pivot? We'll say
Man,
you.
I hate to lay this whack break music on people, so I don't know if we want to take a break. Let's see what the R&B is sounding like. Let's see what we got here.
Yes.
I'll tell you what. We'll take a quick break just to let you know and understand what's going on. Is that I'm coming in remotely right now, so that's why we have the different look and the different sound and different thing going on. We're trying to do the best we can on the road. So thanks for bearing with us through all the things that you're bearing with us through when it comes to the tech, and also just making sure that we stay in the conversation. So we really appreciate everybody that is still here and bears with us through all these things. Definitely send us your email address so that we can sign you up to our new newsletter, the Weekly Wrap. It's growing we've been growing it as it's going already. It's already in our second week and it's getting better all the time. So definitely check that out and fight the algorithm. Every time we try to go on Facebook or YouTube, the algorithm kind of limits how many people we can talk to. So we figured out that what people are doing to circumvent that is going directly to your email box and having a conversation, delivering some news and keeping up with each other. So definitely sign up for the Weekly Wrap newsletter. The best way to do that is to go to send us an email at firstsky.omaha@gmail.com, and we'll add your email address on there as well. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Drunk Ship Coffee. Make sure you put the P on the end of that. Drunk Ship Coffee. Go to drunkshipcoffee.com and order your beans today. This is a Black-owned coffee company that is sourcing beans from one farm in Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee, with a nice, sophisticated light roast on it. Definitely check them out, drunkshipcoffee.com. And shout out to everybody who already bought some Drunk Ship and also bought the merch. You see people walking around Omaha with the Drunk Ship t-shirt on. So that's what's up. Appreciate that very much. And shout out to them for doing that as well. Shout out to everybody who has hit me up recently about doing some sponsorship on the channel. And I can't wait to work with you. And we'll get going on this soon. I also just want to give a reminder, Senator McKinney is making us, reminding us all the time that we're in the season of the elections. And so this is happening. Got to make sure you're registered, make sure you're ready to vote. So on voting November 5th. Of course, he is running for District 11 for his second term. So, shout out to him for doing the work that he's doing as well. And everybody else who's trying to do the good work, man. For a cat that just turned 34, I tell you what, he's got a lot going on already and has done a lot for the city already in big ways. Can you imagine just turning 34 and helping to get $400 million into your hometown?
Man.
That alone is something else, man. So I really appreciate all his efforts, and I love the fact that I got to know him before he was senator, and he's been rocking it. I've been watching him rock his job this whole time. So hopefully, we make sure that we get him back in that seat and to keep on doing the good work. Shout out to him. I'm very impressed with that young man, to say the least. So
put some respect on his name, Senator
Please
McKinney.
do.
Happy belated birthday to you, bro. And the work ain't done. So let's make sure we support.
Hey, I see everybody going off in the chat. Let's remember that we all got different opinions, different attitudes. We definitely need to make sure that we are voicing all those different ideas and opinions as well. But yeah, man, if it comes down to you guys got to go back and forth and have a conversation. Let's not be scared of the hard conversations either. So shout out to everybody who is going back and forth in the chat as well. This is the way that we build family, build community. We all know that we do this with love first. And but yeah, man, even you love your brother, but you gotta argue your point. So I appreciate everybody that's doing that. Sean McCarthy saying I'm looking forward to the updates. I appreciate that. Pop says newsletters off the chain. Thank you. Sean McCarthy said just order some Drunk Ship coffee because my supply was running low. Appreciate you, bro.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's what's up.
Support. Yeah, tap in, y'all. Big shout out to Drunk Ship Coffee for holding us down, holding us down.
Make sure you put the P on it.
Yeah. Extra on the P. But again, we appreciate everybody for tuning in right now. First got Omaha in the morning, halfway through the first hour. We have another hour and a half left in the show, so definitely don't go anywhere. Let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Chime in to the conversation. As Paul mentioned a little bit ago, we are expecting the senators to come through, but we did hear Senator Wayne won't make it, and we don't know what's going on with Senator McKinney. Again, he's out in Chicago for the DNC. Again, Omaha folks on the grounds holding it down.
Yeah, big
Yeah,
time.
so yeah, well, hopefully he'll be able to join us, but if not, it's all right. We understand. We still got a lot to talk about here on our end, so I definitely want to dive into a couple things actually, and kind of pivoting away from the blue dot conversation and jumping into what's going on with the Supreme Court hearing. And it's kind of connected because again, depending on how this whole Supreme Court hearing plays out, may have a huge impact on whether or not the blue dot will remain blue, or which way it will go. Maybe even this whole independent wave that we're seeing will continue to take over. If you don't know what we're talking about the voting rights for Nebraskan felons. Again, big shout out to Senator Wayne, who again won't be joining us today, but he played a huge role, instrumental role in drafting the legislation and pushing the legislation to get this passed. Again, eliminating what's being known as the arbitrary 2-year period for felons after again they finish their sentence, do their time, if you will, and they're still forced to wait 2 years before they're able to vote again and exercise their right, which is kind of in a way a barrier to getting back into the flow of society, getting back into the fold of the public, if you will, and just getting back active, getting on the right path, kind of being treated as a other, if you will. And it seems like that's still what Nebraska is pushing, even though it's essentially against the law. This coming from Nebraska Examiner, Secretary of State, basically says that he won't ask the Nebraska Pardons Board to restore voting rights for convicted felons. Again, although this is the law, the legislation was passed, it went through the proper channels and went through the proper process, but yet and still, Secretary of State Bob Evnen will not ask the Board of Pardons at its meeting next week to consider restoring voting rights to people who have completed their felony convictions. They did their time. However, Evnen's office announced Thursday that he will pull an agenda item for the August 20th meeting, of which he is a member of the Pardons Board, in light of the pending litigation before the Nebraska Supreme Court. Evnen's office said he will not remove existing voters from the voting rolls for now. But again, if you have not already registered and are a formerly incarcerated individual, you may have to wait a little longer. The announcement comes again just one day after the Supreme Court did schedule oral arguments in a lawsuit seeking to force Evnen to follow 2 state laws, again, which was brought by Civic Nebraska and other voting rights advocates. A spokesman for Civic Nebraska, Steve Smith, said in a statement, "The only acceptable path forward is for our state's election officials to follow the law, which protects these Nebraskans' right to vote. Using the Board of Pardons to restore only, quote unquote, some Nebraskans' voting rights would have been an unnecessary half measure." Again, Evnen instructed not only a Board of Pardons to ignore the law, but also county election officials to stop registering voters with felony convictions unless the Pardons Board had restored their voting rights. He said he intended to bring a motion to pardon those with felony convictions who had registered to vote under the 2005 law, but he has since reversed that stance as well. So again, not only is he urging his office not to follow the law, but also urging several other administrative officers not to follow the law. I want to kind of hammer that in. They're breaking the law by not doing this. I just want to, I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah.
Yeah.
That part.
Willingly and proudly.
Yeah. That part. And as a result, blocking thousands and thousands of Nebraskans from being able to vote. I think the number is about 7,000 Nebraskans are kind of hanging in the balance, waiting to see if they will be able to vote. And mind you, you look at, I believe the SC Spivey's race was only like less than 20 votes. Yeah, there's some very, very close votes as of recently. I mean, 7,000 can definitely, especially on the local level, can sway a lot of things one direction or another.
Well, I'm just anxious to see what happens. When they're willing, they're saying they're not going to follow the law. And by the way, part of what we do here is kind of a civics lesson. I definitely have learned more about civics in local politics than I knew before.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been having the senators on regularly, and we're understanding the legislature and how they pass laws and what that actually means. And you would think that after a law gets passed, uh, the people who opposed it, they lost. It's a law now. You got to do what you got to do. So it's interesting to see that the fight continues even past the law being created, because you have people who also have power. I'm starting to understand the other areas of power,
Yeah.
where they can just blatantly say they're not going to do it. And so now I'm really anxious to see what kind of fight has to happen to make individuals who are deciding not to follow the law. I mean, I know in general what's supposed to happen when you don't follow the law, but how does this work in these areas of power?
So,
So good.
so to kind of continue the civic education and answer that question, this is the point in case and like the perfect example of balance of power and checks and balances. You have essentially a disagreement between your legislative branch and your administrative branch. Therefore, the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, has to step in and kind of have the final say. And that's where we are. So again, the oral arguments have been scheduled for next week, Wednesday the 28th. And depending on how that goes, whose lawyers are more high powered, essentially, and who forms a better argument, they're going to have to either going to be forced by the Supreme Court to follow the law, which ignites a whole other series of events of appeals and back and forth, and we don't know what happens with that. But here we are with the Supreme Court kind of having the next say in what goes on with that situation.
Yeah. Sue Kessler Hagen in the chat says, yes, the party of law and order, unless they don't like the law.
Man, that part, that part.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, interesting to see. Let us know if you have any other information on this particular thing. We've been following this for a while and speaking to the senators when they put it in motion in the first place. As you know, First Sky Omaha is working with MCC on a documentary for the reentry program.
Yep.
So I've been in the jails. I've actually went to the prison and talked to some folks that knew about this law, that what happened, and was anxious to be able to vote. And so they're like Buddy said, they're hanging in the balance right now, trying to find out whether or not they can. And it's being pushed off, and I have a feeling it'll be pushed off past Election Day.
Man, I mean, that's kind of the big thing. Will they make it to November? That's the big question. And again, we're talking about 7,000 Nebraskans. So will that keep the blue dot blue? You know what? It can have a huge impact on how this thing plays out, even on the national scale. So yeah, definitely a lot of eyes paying attention. Again, next week it goes down August 28th.
There you go. Pop says we became a nation by breaking laws. It's in some folks' DNA. Not to mention, I've always had a problem with man-made laws in the first place because, slavery was a law.
Yeah.
Hitler came to power with laws.
Yeah.
Sometimes, So, like I said, I understand it, but I also am anxious to see the process. This is a good example of how things are supposed to be working here. We'll see what the Supreme Court has to say.
Yep, checks and balance. I do want to acknowledge what the senators had to say. Senators Wayne and McKinney did chime up in this situation, according to the Nebraska Examiner. Senator Wayne, who again championed the legislation during floor debate, said, "I don't know how you do that in the amount of time." So I think that was problematic from the beginning. Talking about again the Pardons Board and the role that they have. Again, reminds us also that the Pardons Board, who now has a say on who gets that vote, that right to vote back, is made up of Secretary of State, the governor, and the Attorney General. So, yeah, very, very tight group. So it's very interesting to see how where the power lies, if you will. Also, Senator McKinney chiming up on the situation, saying it's just crazy times in this world, in this state, in America, where we're still having to fight for people to have the right to vote. We're still fighting for the dignity of incarcerated individuals. Also, Wayne said putting confusion into the process is a form of voter suppression, in my opinion. He went on to say, I have a fundamental problem with the constitutional officer or otherwise elected who can make a decision on their own that something is unconstitutional and decide not to follow the law that we passed, effectively bucking the system. So again, very, very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. Can, elected officials or those appointed to power, even, mind you, some people aren't necessarily elected by the people. They're just put in position and might have the power to just sidestep the law, which is a whole conversation in itself. So
It's
there we are.
wild.
There we are.
That's really wild. Yeah, what say you? Love to hear if you have any thoughts on these things in the chat. If you've been following this story, especially, let us know. I think it's something that's very important. We always talk about this, what solutions we can come up with when it comes to not just people having their rights back, but people in prison in the first place and incarcerated in the first place. It's a tough situation to be able to get back in society, and when you realize that part of getting back into society means paying attention to your local politics, maybe some of the reasons why you were in there in the first place is because of what the laws were, what happened with the laws there, and to
Man.
think that you can have the opportunity to do something about it, which is what I keep hearing. They're just like, yeah, some of the most opinionated people that are paying really close attention to, especially local politics, affecting them personally, are people that are coming in and out. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and definitely something we need to keep track of in a big way.
Yeah, definitely. One of the big conversations happening right now is the legalization of marijuana. Because always connected to that conversation, if they legalize marijuana, then what about those individuals who are currently incarcerated for those same laws, like you just talked about? So, and that's kind of brewing right now in the backdrop as far as this whole property tax situation, as the legalization of marijuana has been identified as again an avenue for the state to make some more loot, and more people to get more jobs, and just other things to happen, a kind of domino effect for Nebraskans in a good way. So again, that's definitely a cross section between this story as far as formerly incarcerated individuals, and you want to say it right, being able to vote. So and definitely looking at that situation. Actually, speaking of that, let's take a quick breather, and when we come back, I do want to dive into what's going on with the state legislation and again a lot of drama happening going on in the state legislation in the property tax special session. A couple filibusters later, here we are.
Here we are. We'll take a quick break and listening to First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah, to deal with this AI hip hop. We'll be right back, y'all.
Man. Yeah, sorry.
Welcome back. I gotta tell you, if you're worried about AI taking over, they ain't ready. They ain't ready. That's the music that AI is putting down. They ain't ready. Yeah. Appreciate everybody coming on back into the chat as well, and joining us today. We appreciate it. Just to let people know again, different tech, different look, different music. A lot of this stuff is going on because I am out of town. I'm coming in remotely, but we know you guys don't care too much about that. And as long as we are on having this conversation, but I appreciate everybody bearing through, working through everything with us and hanging with us and continuing the conversation.
Thank you.
You guys are getting hot and heated in the chat. I suggest everybody go back and check out the chat. Some good conversation between loved ones and friends of First Sky Omaha. So we appreciate everybody who are friends of First Sky Omaha here in the chat today, having conversation and going back and forth and doing it with love and just making sure that we are voicing our opinions and having the conversations. It's how we work out, how we feel, how we think, and it's also how we get together. So appreciate everybody that's in there talking about it, bringing up points that people need to definitely remember. We definitely need to remember what the issues are and what's going on. So I just wanted to give a shout out there. Do us a favor, share the show on your page so we get as many people in the conversation as we can. And if you miss any parts of this show, go back to YouTube especially and check out the show in its entirety. There are comments on YouTube and Facebook going on right now, so you might want to go back and check out the comments on both of those platforms, YouTube and Facebook. And of course, the conversation continues on Friends of First Sky Omaha, the group page on Facebook, when we're not live. So thank you very much. We'll be live today. We'll be live Wednesday. We got a couple special guests coming on Wednesday as well. Brother Imaya will be on Wednesday, and I'm trying to get Brother Hassani Lee on Wednesday as well.
Nice.
So yeah, stay tuned for that because we got lots of things to discuss with both of those brothers, and amongst everything else that's going on, amongst the news and everything else happening. So
Man.
appreciate that very much, and we appreciate you. We're gonna continue on, buddy. What's next on the agenda?
Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge really quickly in the chat, since Sister Whitney Richardson kind of giving us an update or a little haps a little bit connected to what we're talking about as far as, again, formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters getting the right to vote. She says there's a town hall this Saturday at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation called Hands Off Our Votes from 1:30 to 3:30. So again, if you are impacted or at least just care about this issue, you might want to check this out. Then that's the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. Hands Off Our Votes Town Hall, 1:30 to 3:30. Check that out. That's 3448 Evans Street, right up the hill from Time Out Chicken. Still
There you
remember.
go.
Still remember. There you go. There you go.
Shout out to Whitney Richardson. Good morning to you. Appreciate you
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
on, giving
Top
us
of
the
the morning
info.
to you. Yep,
Mhm.
yep. Also, a few other comments in the chat. Shout out to Majee Miller Jenkins. She says poverty and mass incarceration are bedfellows. The government forces both, so they feed each other. It's more effective to end poverty than to perpetuate it until you factor in how much people make off the poverty industry. Man, big time, big time. So and definitely one of the big issues as we look at what's going on with this whole situation as the property taxes, because again, poverty, the bottom line really is being affected by this. What is going to happen in your everyday spending? What's going to happen in your everyday life as far as taxes, as taxable goods, being introduced, over 100 plus taxable goods possibly going up, but not just that, some of the services being cut and taxed and again impacted as well. So definitely something that we're looking at, and we'll love to hear your take on this. But here we are, just about 10-12 minutes left in the first hour. Definitely love to hear your input and take on what's going on with the special session, the legislature. If you've been paying attention, this coming out of Omaha World Herald. As I mentioned, since we last broadcast, last Wednesday, just under a week ago, here we are now, several filibusters later, and it looks like the can is still being kicked down the road and more debate to continue. The Nebraska legislature's special session was on track to actually supposed to finish tomorrow, but now it looks like that won't end till about Thursday and possibly even later. Omaha World Herald reports state senators are currently in a session to debate property tax relief measures and have moved a scaled back version. Again, if you remember, Governor Pillen's initial goal was about 50% reduction in property taxes, and now that has dropped to around 30%, possibly even lower. We'll see how debates pan out. But again, that has now made its way to a third and final round of debate, which will be held again tomorrow. A legislative bill 34 would ensure that property taxpayers benefit from an existing tax relief program, which while capping property tax collections by cities and counties. Two budget bills accompanying the plan, LB 2 and 3, will provide about 139 million of the 185 million necessary for the plan. Pillen called a special session again earlier in the summer on July 25th with the goal, as I mentioned, of reaching about 50% cuts in property taxes. But over the weeks and through several rounds of debate, his plan has kind of been whittled down to one that offers no new tax relief and would offset about only 3% of property taxes statewide that only some property owners would benefit from. And some could guess just which property owners, being the most wealthy, would actually benefit from this. Proponents of the plan have argued that it is an absolute minimum of what lawmakers can do to help taxpayers. So Here we are, several rounds of debate, several $1,000s in taxpayers' money later, and not much has changed. Not much. It really looks like, again, only about a 3% impact on property taxes. But several senators, including Senator Wayne and McKinney, are pushing for more relief, more help for their constituents, not just the most wealthy of Nebraskans. Actually, according to the Nebraska Examiner, State Senators Justin Wayne and Merv Reapy of Ralston all both sought to increase the cap based on concerns from municipalities and counties. Their amendments will have replaced inflation to be the consumer price index, which Wayne says this give counties and cities air to breathe, which is a big issue in this, not just education and school boards, but cities and counties. What can they do as far as collection of taxes, and what does that mean for their bottom line, and as far as services and other, really goods for their citizens?
Yep. Still a big issue. Still a big thing on the agenda here. Namely, because I really feel like it's kind of, I'm starting to feel a little bit like he has a. I feel like Pillin has a thing he's trying to do. He's using everything that he can do to get it done, even though again, just to kind of recap, not a lot of support from
Mm-hmm.
anybody on the things that he's trying to do. And then it switches up all the time because we're in a special session and there's deals being made and stuff being talked about all the time. And thankfully we have the senators that kind of keep us up on some of these things. But this special session means that we got to keep up with it, and because all these changes, of course, have to do with us, and we don't have anything to do or say about whether or not we want certain things taxed or any of that. And what happens what happens when the tax, he's basically shifting things around
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the conclusion that we came to. It's not really tax breaks on anything, but it's a shifting of taxes. And who pays for that? Usually the most vulnerable of us out here are paying for that,
Yep.
those shifts. So something to keep track of. Again, we can get caught up in a lot of things that are here and beyond. And I really feel like one of the biggest purposes of us doing this, I really feel like, is the knowledge that so many things are affecting our day-to-day life that are happening right now in front of us, that we actually have a little bit of pull on trying to maneuver and fix. So those are the things that are very important too. Before I even was doing this, I was thinking so much about what was going on nationally all the time because of what's on the news all the time,
Right.
that you forget about what's going on locally. So this affects us. This affects our loved ones. This affects us right here, and it's definitely something to pay just as much attention to as everything else. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And
So mhm.
possibly, if not more attention, and two things are kind of jumping out to me with this situation. One, the fact what this means for Pillin,
Mhm.
and just kind of how I'm not surprised this is playing out the way it's playing out, because Pillin isn't, from my understanding, a career politician.
Mm.
This is, definitely his first foray as governor. So these are, kind of pushing a tax plan
It's
of this
interesting.
magnitude. He doesn't really know how to draft it,
Kind of
how
feels
to
like that a
push
little
it.
bit. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
and what is it? So that's what that means for him. But what does that mean for us as Nebraskans, and just in general? And although I do not live in Nebraska, my mom and dad own property in Nebraska, and this is property that, Lord forbid, when they go home, I'm gonna have to deal with these property taxes.
Man,
You know what I mean?
you got to deal with them now, and they're pretty high right
Exactly.
this minute.
Exactly. And this kind of trickles down to the larger conversation about housing and whether or not people will be able to stay in their house. And here we have this first time governor with this big highfalutin plan that nobody supports. And
Ooh,
obviously he's dropping the ball. So what does that mean for, this 3% property tax shift that really isn't a shift, as they're calling it, the absolute bare minimum, which means nothing to really help the everyday American or really Nebraskan. So it's not
and
looking
I'll
good.
and
It's not looking
I'll,
good.
I'll say it's funny that you bring that point up because I really didn't think about that too much. But yeah, that is some like first time energy, right? That's like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
when I'm governor, I'm going to make sure all of our property, like as a big
Mm-hmm.
grand statement, which can't knock the statement. we a lot of us own our properties in our neighborhoods as well, and we would love some lower property taxes. I can tell you that firsthand from my family. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Love some lower property taxes, but at what cost? Can we have a little bit more a discussion on the cost? Could we figure out some other things? Like the senators say, we ain't even having a conversation unless you're going to talk about other means of resources like
Right.
hemp and everything else. So we're not really having a conversation here. It feels like there's a different agenda going on here with it sometimes when you want to leave out other stuff, and then and then it creates stuff like a sin tax on candy and pop. It feels like there's a lot to it. So anyway, it's just something that we definitely are lucky to have the senators that come on and can not just inform us about what's going on, but also be there voicing their opinion on it, fighting, saying their constituents are concerned about these tax shifts, if you will. So yeah, so definitely keep an eye on if you have any other comments or any if you're on this topic, if you have any other comments and questions about this particular thing here too, please put them in the chat. Put them in Friends of First Sky Omaha, and let's form some questions. If we have questions that we can always have the senators go ask, if they have to deal with this special session anyway, they might as well. If they're up there having to talk, then they can take our words, take what we feel about it, and also get some answers there too. So I definitely would say check that out and keep your eye on this. I think it's going to be interesting. And what's going to happen? One more thing. What's going to happen for renters when this happens? We got a lot of renters in our neighborhoods, and so if the property taxes are lowered for the property owners, is that necessarily going to trickle down to lower rents?
That's actually a great point, and I have a couple stories dealing with housing that I want to dive into in the second hour.
Word.
But kind of where this is as far as the the special session and debates loom, there's a Nebraska Examiner article talking about that very thing that you're kind of alluding to as far as what does this mean for homeowners. There's a debate right now about how certain houses are being evaluated. There's a
Mm.
home owner occupied housing evaluation that's being debated. Apparently,
Hmm.
it's actually a very tense debate, according to the Nebraska Examiner article. It says what intended to be a simple, rare Saturday meeting of the Nebraska legislature began with flared emotions, but ended with key senators making nice to save the very legislation their fight had imperiled. At the center of the debate was legislative resolution 2CA, which is basically a constitutional amendment that would allow the legislature, if voters approve, so this is something that would possibly go to the ballot, but this will allow legislators to set a different valuation process for owner occupied housing. So, say I am a property owner and I live in one property and I own and rent out another property. Those will be evaluated at two different percentiles based on this. So, yeah, what impact does that have on the voter or the renter, excuse me, versus those who own properties, especially as I sit in a property that's owned by a corporation. I think about that impact. Again, we talked
Man.
about the major corporations coming in buying huge percentages of single family homes in the Omaha area. Does that mean that they will be paying more property taxes or less property taxes? What does that mean for, again, the small guy? So again, a lot of issues, a lot of kind of nuances to this whole conversation that we all, should definitely be aware of if you want a roof over your head.
Hear that? Very much understand that. Appreciate that very much. I see the hood tables in the chat saying good morning, First
Hey,
Sky. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming on through. Also, I see Mike Lee is in the chat. Good morning to you. There's some other people that are chiming up. You guys are having a conversation. Appreciate that. Highly encourage you guys to have conversations here in the chat, but also have conversations with each other outside of the chat, especially when we're on some subjects, and we would love to get your input on these subjects as well, and make sure that we can all be in the same conversation. I don't want to discourage people from talking back and forth in the chat, but if it gets to a certain level, go ahead and hit each other personally. Speak face to face or chat to chat, or however you want to do it,
mm-hmm.
and talk about some of these subjects as well, because we would love to have you in on the subjects that we are bringing up as well. Here, I see Amy and Holmes in the chat saying good morning. Appreciate you very much. Shout out to Heart Ministries for doing the work they're doing over there, and everybody else, man. It's coming up on that 8 o'clock hour, and it's going to be time to have even more discussion. and especially on some of the things that we've been discussing here in the first hour. So, and lots coming up. So shout out. We're still putting that call out there. We want to hear whether or not you went to the Walls campaign rally. What's been going on in the city? Even if you went to Jazz on the Green recently, like what have you been doing out this last weekend?
Man.
We would love to hear about that as well, and we appreciate everybody's comments. We'll come back and dive into some of the comments and some of those things here in just a second. And again, we really appreciate everybody's participation. You can always go back and watch this in its entirety on YouTube, and you can even add some comments there too if you see some things that you want to address. So again, appreciate that. It is 8:00 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, my name is Paul B. He is Buddy to Gawd.
Hey.
And we are First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
And yeah, man, we're gonna play some of this really whack AI hip hop for you for a second while we take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The irony of me being out here seeing the Roots, Diggable Planets, and the Far Side, and then clicking a button on this program that says AI hip hop.
Man,
the contrast. The contrast is, if y'all think that AI is taking over, they ain't ready.
Man,
they ain't ready.
At some point, might have to have this music business conversation because that's where it's going. The labels are heading that way, unfortunately.
Yeah. BBL Drizzy was good, but
man,
BBL Drizzy was the jam. Other than that, AI music ain't ready. A lot of AI stuff ain't ready. That's just what it is. But yeah, now you're in the second hour of First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
You know what? Something else is really making me. I'm really appreciating the music that like people have put in. Pops, Augie Kid, Your Beats. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really missing it right now because we don't have it. So it's just
that good stuff, man. Your cuts, man. You got some jams, yeah.
Some jams, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Appreciate that, man. That's what's going on. Let's see. Mike Lee is saying, well, you guys are in the chat, man. We're gonna definitely jump in. Mike Lee gives us a good morning for Sky Peeps. Appreciate you.
Hey.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody that's jumping in comments. We're definitely going to try to jump into those comments as well. Have more of a conversation here in the second hour. Lots of things to talk about, but of course, we're still putting that call out. If you went to Jazz on the Green, if you went to the Walls rally. If you were out and about, if you were outside this weekend, definitely let us know how things were, how things went down, how you felt things were happening in the neighborhoods, and also all the news. Man, we definitely have some bad news about some people, some violence in our community. And shout out and peace to those families that have been suffering there too. If you guys know any of those families and those activities were hitting close to home, please. Shout them out as well. Let us know if there's something that can be done. We're always putting those GoFundMe's up and everything that we need to be able to try to help folks get through hard times in our neighborhood. So please let us know. Let us know if what's going on there. If stuff that had happened in the family. I know that last week a couple brothers passed away at a concert. Hit pretty close to home as well. Family of friends of First Sky Omaha. So. Just prayers to the family always, man, who's going through some of these things. But also, like I said, lots of activity. It's always how it is in the summertime, especially. There's going to be hot nights, hot days, but also a lot of activity, a lot of people out and about. It seems like more than normal this summer for me it seems like there's more people out than I usually am seeing in
Hmm.
Omaha. I feel like people are outside, man. We're fully away from the days of the pandemic isolation. People are outside. Matter of fact, a couple people caught COVID. A couple friends of mine caught COVID being out so much. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's resurged a little bit.
yeah,
So
I'm hearing some COVID stories. Yeah,
you too, huh?
yeah. A few people catching it. I did hear catch a report of they're still testing the wastewater, saying elevated COVID samples in some of the wastewater that they're finding. Also, more. There's actually I ran across an article talking about long COVID and maybe some
Ooh,
disabilities and some resources for those who are still struggling with long COVID, and whether or not they should qualify for benefits. So,
what's this? Do you know what's the symptoms of long COVID? Do you know about what people
from what I'm hearing, it's shortness of breath, still
same
struggles with
symptoms?
breathing, respiratory issues, shortness of breath, blood flow, things like that.
Yeah, things definitely haven't been the same. So I think I think probably people got some long COVID that don't think they have it. They say
Man.
that COVID is now. They said COVID is now not a pandemic but a epidemic. No, not what is it? I can't remember the term for it, but it's now just like the flu. That's
Mm.
how they're counting it. It's something that's going to be here with us all the time that we're going to have to be dealing with every year, just the same as the flu. So
Yeah.
that's going to happen whenever there's a lot of people out and about, close proximity, same stuff, man. So hopefully we develop some tenets of how to interact with each other, give a little distance, wash the hands a little longer, wear masks. Sometimes I did see a whole lot of masks on the flight. So there's
Okay.
people that are still stuck with that tradition for sure. I thought I was going to stick with that tradition too. Forgot all about it. Got on the plane. Was like, oh yeah, that's right. Should have brought a mask.
I still see him from time to time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still out there. Anthony Rogers Wright says COVID isn't the scariest thing right now. We're about to have an outbreak of monkeypox. Yeah, man, monkeypox.
Really?
Yeah, dude, been hearing about a huge swaths of area that's turning into a little bit of a situation. He says mpox cases turning up in Europe, which means that it's here in the U.S. right now. Making up is still a very good idea in places. Masking up is still a very good idea in places with a lot of folks. I've been hearing a lot of reports coming out of Africa, coming out of Europe.
Mm.
So yeah, if usually there's so much traffic here that if you hear big continents having it, then we got it too, probably. So
Man, I've been
yeah.
hearing more and more about bird flu becoming an issue
Mm.
as well.
Yep, yep. We have not gotten away from the sicknesses, and it's I think it's when people get lax and stop wearing masks and stop doing stuff, and
Man, stop washing.
feeling like we're free now and out here chilling. That's when stuff starts firing up. So we got to pay attention for sure.
Man, man, pops in the chat. He says I got COVID 4 months ago from my doctor. Oh man.
Now this is a man who has hermited up in his house so hard he don't even know what the temperature is outside today. That goes to show you. You go out one time, catches COVID.
From the
That just goes
doctor though, from all places, the
from the
doctor
doc, right? From the doctor.
supposed to be the cleanest.
Yeah, it's a hot mess.
Man.
Hot mess. I see Mama God in the chat says I saw a friend on stage and on camera at Wall's rally that was presenting low energy. There was a break after Miss Nebraska sang, and my friend was gone. Ooh.
Like I've seen enough. I've seen enough.
Hey, speaking of which, Miss Nebraska, let me tell you something. I don't know if you saw the rally or if you heard her sing. She got some chops, bro.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Bro, I was like, I was pretty blown away.
Okay.
I'm
She
talking
was
about.
singing.
She was singing. She was singing. For my Caucasian friends, that's singing with an A. She was singing. Uh, it was pretty
Singing with the
incredible.
twang.
It was pretty incredible, and she was at the power in her voice.
Hmm.
Um, she, I heard Walls was like, "Hey, we might have to have her at the DNC. We might, you know what I'm saying?" Like,
Man.
she got down, and it to me it was like, as a musician myself, I definitely picked it apart a little bit and was like, "Okay, man, I could say there's a couple things she should practice here a little bit and blah blah blah." Overall, She
Chops.
just needs to practice that another week or two, bro. She'll be on a national stage with that. Kill the game
Man.
with that. Kill the game. Mama Guy says, I think they removed her because she didn't fit in the ops. Really?
Talking about excuse me. Talking about her friend.
Oh, you're her friend. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'm still thinking about that singing.
Man. She be singing. She be singing.
Singing. That was definitely a highlight. I did realize that somebody told me that Miss Nebraska was sang the lift every voice and sing. Or no, she sang change gonna come.
Mm.
I was
So
like,
she, man,
okay,
yeah. If you're gonna be singing, that's a song you gotta sing. That you
yeah, you got to
can't just
sing it.
croon it out,
She was born by the river. It was
man.
cold.
All right.
Definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. So anyway, yeah, back to that issue there. We've already heard from people that were at that rally. It seemed to be like the biggest thing in Omaha news, man. It seemed like there were so many people there that it was crazy. Like I said, thousands of people got turned away because it was full, and people who I know personally and know that had nothing to do with that usually has nothing to do with any of this was there. like this might create some voters. This might create some voters
Mm.
because I'm definitely talking to people who was not interested in any of it before that are like all the way like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do this. I can see this. I can see Kamala and Walls. They can see it. It is. You can say what you want to say about it, but it was rejuvenated. It was rejuvenated interest in the presidential race in a big way. Everybody wants to see Kamala uh, debate Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I could
yeah,
definitely see that. So I guess that kind of brings me back to my question that I posed earlier about how are you feeling about the whole blue dot energy. Here we are,
mhm.
second time around. And especially those of you who are out there in Chicago, is there any conversation swirling around the blue dot and the spotlight being pointed towards Nebraska? But Paul, what say you?
It's definitely been in the news. I've been hearing it in the news in a big way here lately. They reminded us that the blue dot swayed Obama becoming president. The blue dot also came into play when Biden
Hmm.
became president as well. And so here we are back talking about it again. And I definitely feel like with Miss Harris' pick, Vice President Kamala Harris's pick, with this guy who's like a native Nebraskan,
Hmm.
it's definitely fired up I'm speaking. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Like I'm speaking from an independent standpoint and thinking about people like Precious that come onto the show. Thinking about people who are heavily rallied when it comes to Democratic process as well. Tony Vargas has been on the show before. I'm thinking about people who are all the way Democrat that are hyped right now
Man.
and hyping people up in a big way. They were all like, "Hey, I'm going to be behind Joe," and they never said a bad word. And then when Joe was done, then they were like, sorry he's done, but man, let's go. This is Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Hmm.
like I'm hearing from friends of mine that are all the way Democrat, all the way about it, and they're hyped. And it's hard to not be hyped about the situation the way it is as well. So they knew what they were doing with this rally. They knew what they were doing with firing up the blue dot again. I can't wait to get Precious on again to talk about where the party's at according to her, and maybe some other people from the party that we can talk to that are feeling like they're feeling, and also some of the people that are not with it, that are protesting the situation. You protest the situation, you're not about it. You're not about this pick. You're not about Kamala Harris. Are you about Trump? Is that what that means? Are we to
Mm.
that point now where that's what you're about? Luckily, here we have people in the chat like Anthony Rogers Wright. We got people like you that are for Jill Stein. We had Jill Stein on. Anthony Rogers Wright said he can get her back on again. We'll have her on and talk about her and her pick because I love the fact that we are also talking and introducing things that have to do with the independent side of things as well, because a
Hmm.
lot of young folks are choosing independent. What does that really mean? What does it mean for Nebraska if you're an independent? You still got to kind of vote through the Democratic ticket in order to vote independent.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are involved here, but the biggest thing is this is one of the biggest things happening here as far as the rally to get people to be interested. enough to register, vote, to choose a side, pick a choice. We still need more from these leaders, as is stated in everybody who is in the chat today, especially Maggie Miller Jenkins, Anthony Rogers Wright. That's still reminding us that genocide is happening. Where do people stand on these things? Can they speak up and talk about where they stand, what they're going to do? It's still a lot of American. I'm gonna lower wages or raise the minimum wage for people in our country. Like there's still a lot of real kind of close to the American people argument about things. But what about foreign policy? What about what's going on in the world? What about what's already happening and what we're already involved in, and what do they plan on doing? So and then we can't have these conversations without mentioning like Project 2025. These plans that we're seeing Republicans and Democrats in some cases play out when it comes to the war on poor people, basically.
Mm.
There's some stuff that are going on as well that we still need some answers to. It's easy to get caught up in the rally, but we still need answers on
Yep.
some very important things.
Yep. There's still people out that's hungry. Still people out that's homeless. And what are we going to do for those? And some real solutions, not just promises, is definitely what we're looking for. But it seems like some people are swayed, and maybe Sean McCarthy, are you alluding? Do you feel some enthusiasm? Sean McCarthy in the chat says, at least for the enthusiasm aspect, it's been roughly 8 years since I think there's been a Democratic candidate that can draw a crowd. Neither Biden or Clinton had that enthusiasm element, kind of maybe alluding to what Anthony Rogers Wright is also saying about Biden and the support that he actually got. It says, not to stick my head in the lion's mouth, brothers, but the so-called blue dot had nothing to do with Biden's win in 2020. PA, Michigan, and Wisconsin are going to decide this race just like it did in 2020. But he goes on to say folks should still vote like hell for sure. And just to say, my comrade and I had a chance joint meeting with 5 brothers who are first-generation Sudanese and Kenyan. All 5 said they plan to vote for Trump, which is fairly interesting, which is a conversation that we've been having here on the show. As far as, again, individuals from certain backgrounds that you might not think will vote a certain way are leaning Trump. And it is very interesting to see just where the energy is going and how this thing is going to play out. Definitely watching closely.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and I definitely feel like that conversation is conversations I have in private. Even though they're louder than they used to be, they still are they're hollering Trump. But what I'm talking more about is kind of like you, brother Anthony Rogers, right? You're a person who is definitely not for Trump, but speak the loudest about what's Kamala Harris and her pick in the Democratic Party and so on and so forth. It just makes me wonder, like, what we gonna do? What you gonna do? And I don't ask that trying to call you out and trying to wanting you to be like, tell us how you gonna vote. But I am saying, it does make me think, like, what can we do? We also go back to, this is something we haven't brought up yet today, but we also go back to this idea of creating the third party, like he brought up James Baldwin. A book talking about it back in the 60s. We were talking about how we need to bring this third party together. We've had Dr. Jill Stein on, Dr. Cornel West on. We want to have Dr. Jill Stein on again, and we want to keep on talking about independent third party. Do we make that statement now? Do we make that statement is always my question. We need to do something in order to get that third party in play at some point. But every time that we come up to and having an opportunity to do that, we also get hit by this idea that, man, maybe we better go ahead and go Democrat real quick, because that if we don't, that means Trump gonna be in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fear allows you to decide that you're not gonna make the statement at the time sometimes. So I'm to that. That's the question. That's where I'm at with it. That's the, what do you have to do to reconcile? And of course, politics is very personal. What do you have to do to reconcile in your own head who it is you're going to vote for, how, why, and what that means? So, here, like Maggie Miller Jenkins has a good point too. She's like, why? Why is everybody enthusiastic for her or against Trump? Does it matter at this point? Does it matter? Because for a lot of us, it's like, it can't be Trump. it was like that when Biden was running, when Biden was in the race, though. And
Hmm.
were you excited about not Trump? I definitely feel the vibe that I'm more excited about her as a choice than I was about Joe as a choice, President Biden as a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, with that caveat, with this thing over your head, that yes, we're excited that it may not be Trump. I actually think Kamala's going to win. I think
You
I've read
do.
some things. Yeah, I do, and it's not a hopeful. I don't hope it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sitting
Hmm.
around going, "Ooh, I hope she wins."
Just reading the
It's,
tea
it's
leaves.
it's actually reading the tea leaves, right? It's actually like all this stuff that we do all the time, the stuff that we read in the news and the research, and talking to people and just kind of understanding, because we've been doing this for years now about how certain things work. I feel like the powers that be that want that actually choose presidents. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it out there.
All right.
Uh, are want her to be it, and that's why there's so much money coming in. That's why there's so much hype happening, and that's
Hmm.
why it's going like it's going. And that's one of the reasons why. So I don't know. Yeah, Measure Miller Jenkins, shouldn't it matter? Yeah, it should matter. You're right. But I'm also saying what's the reality of the situation here? Anthony Rogers Wright says yes. Right now, we make that statement immediately. So talking about making that statement about the third party, like, going ahead and make it, going Jill Stein. You know what I'm saying? Third
Hmm.
party. He's saying, right now we make that statement immediately and make the other parties earn votes. The countries with the best functioning democracies have multiple parties. Again, I am more afraid of the complacency with Harris than the reality that comes with Trump.
Mm.
I'm more afraid of the excitement about Harris, not just the complacency. I don't think people are saying anybody but Trump anymore. I feel like they're excited about Kamala Harris.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. You got the anybody but Trump vibe with Biden. Like,
big time.
yeah, it was like, all right, Biden's what we got. We kind of already had him with Obama, so we're used to it, comfortable with it. But, it was definitely more of a vote against Trump. I feel like people voting for Kamala, are excited to vote for Kamala.
There's,
It could be,
go ahead.
it could be Mitt Romney, or, it could be, so, you know what I mean? Like, she could really be up against anybody at this point, and it does seem like people are more so like for Kamala.
Yeah, and for a bunch of good reasons. Everybody's ready for a woman president. Everybody is ready for a black woman president. Everybody's ready for a vice president that seems like your uncle from your Midwest uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like, the choice was important. Midwest, which is kind of the biggest area swaths of states that are the kind of the decider. That's where the battlegrounds at is Midwest. You got a Midwest cat who is from Nebraska. That, of course, like, there's so many reasons to be excited. If you take out everything else, there's so many reasons to be excited that it's kind of hard. That's why I'm saying, like, you got to temper your excitement, because, like, what's she actually standing on? What's she actually
Right,
saying?
right. And that's my thoughts. Like everything you just named off, like it's good vibes, feels good, sounds good. All very superficial though.
I feel the
And
majority of the company votes that way, though. The majority of the
unfortunately,
country, yeah.
unfortunately, but going back to what Brother Anthony Rogers Wright is saying in the chat, saying it's not just genocide, it's the climate crisis, raising wealth inequality, mass incarceration, and the facts that he says Democrats are exercising Project 2025 right now. And that's why that rally was trashed. Not one speaker said a word about any of these issues on Saturday. He goes on to say vibes are nice, but they don't put food on the table.
Yeah.
Good policies do. And that's essentially where we are, where people are kind of tired of either side really pushing anybody,
Yeah.
not them choose us. Like, what about the issues? What about the issues? What about the issues?
I mean, again, though, a rally is not a rally is appealing to the people that will be touched by a rally more than more than they're paying attention to the issues. We wouldn't have a show if everybody paid attention to the issues like they should, and that was the point at which they made decisions. We're fighting against a whole country full of people that are basically at a
I
school
like
pep.
bacon, so I'm a
Right. Oh, I saw bacon on there, and I like bacon, so I'm going to go ahead and vote for that because bacon is tasty. An intelligent woman told me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're basically in a country full of pep rally at the high school pep rally. That's how you get riled up, and because it's your school, and that's why you get riled up. Who talks? Who's here talking about the issues? Like who's making decisions off of the issues? So everybody, a rally is to stoke excitement or fear or joy or all these emotions that you got to kind of bypass in order to use your head to look at the issue and make your decision there. I would love for there to be a black woman president, but she hasn't veered too much from what Biden was on. Like I don't see any extra or any different platforms besides what Biden was on. That they've been standing on the same thing they've been standing on. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in the chat because I feel like I'm talking too much. Heather Williams in the chat says, I'm with Paul. In my opinion, I cannot and will never, ever vote for Trump. Yeah, it is. For me, it's definitely like it's going to be Harris or it's going to be like Jill Stein. You know what I'm saying? It's never going to be Trump. It'll how do we figure that out? How do we figure the other side of it out? Anthony Rogers Wright always makes a great point about making that statement now. Third party, make it now. Well, and make everybody else earn it. Pop says, Paul, I've been biting my tongue for a long time, but I agree with you 1,000%. Which thing, Pops? I see you back in the chat saying that. Which thing was I saying at the time? Maggie Miller Jenkins says, excited for what beyond her gender and race? Excited for what beyond her gender and race? Where are her policies? Her record ain't it. True. Same thing. Anthony Rogers Wright says too. Excited about what? She hasn't released any substantial policies. The excitement is rooted in what David Axelrod even called irrational exuberance.
Surface level.
Thank you for. That's the term. That's what I'm saying. We're a country of people who are just on this irrational exuberance. That when it comes down to it, when it comes down to voting, people vote that way. So they vote whatever gets them exuberant enough. In our feelings enough. Everybody makes decisions based on their feelings.
How much of that do you place on the voter? Like how much of that blame do you place on the voter? And in that case, can you blame people running for office for having to run for that kind of constituency?
I take that back. I can't say I blame all of it on the voter. I think I blame a lot of it. I think they need to be informed. We don't push being informed as much as we push the irrational exuberance.
Mm-hmm.
Sean McCarthy in the chat says it's sort of the Bernie Sanders factor, though. Bernie had a ton of enthusiasm, but in order to have a Bernie Sanders type of government, you need to elect Bernie Sanders type of senators and Congress people. Yeah, that's another part of that. It can't just be Bernie. It's got to be senators, governors, people that we recognize have a lot of power, a lot more power than we maybe thought before. It's a lot. Mama God says, I think the powers see her as a more pliable and logical decision ever. Plus she's coming with the juice, the juice, man, the juice, the irrational exuberance, the pep rally that, like she's coming with the fire, saying all the right stuff. Think about some of the stuff she said, like when she first took the nomination. It's kind of wild. Like she's saying all the things that get you riled up, bro. I think of Braveheart and Mel Gibson's speech. You'll never take off. This is what we this is what we're dealing with.
How you not get hyped? And Quavo in the
come on, man.
So it takes. Man. And hot sauce in the bag, and Kunte Kente cloth, and what it takes.
She said, like my man said, he don't walk it like he talk it, and everybody went nuts.
Throw a few rap quotes in there, gets the people going. Don't know what it means, but it's provocative. Gets
excited.
The people going.
Imagine Miller Jenkins says, excited seems to be a word tossed around a lot. Excited for what? Irrational exuberance is a better word than excited for what I'm trying to describe. Mara Harrison in the chat says, Kamala is fighting for freedom and keeping this country together. Here we go. He says Trump wants to be Hitler, and for those who don't know who Hitler is, please read a book. If it's not banned. No.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah.
That part.
Man, I hear that. Anthony Rogers Rice is the Midwest cat that presides over the state with third worst racial wealth and education gap. What people actually know about Walz besides his affinity for fast food. Yeah, as soon as he said he liked Runza, I didn't. I was like, Runza.
Nah.
Nah.
I can't
He
trust
said
this guy.
he. Yeah, but then again, you know how many people sent me clips of him signing, signing declarations to make Prince, to name a street after Prince, and how many people had sent me clips of him and Kamala Harris talking about how they're Prince fans. Uh, it's really interesting, like what people are even talking amongst, like what we're all even talking amongst ourselves about. Man, there's definitely, like, I have way more people that are talking to me about how hype they are about that than people like Anthony Rogers Wright, or people that are talking about, like, yeah, but what about this? What about, what
Hmm.
is she? Where's she stand on this thing? Everybody's mad at Joe Biden for his policy when it comes to when it was coming to Gaza and everything else. Mad, like, Killer Joe. They all these things, right?
Man.
Okay, so now she's running, and now we didn't forgot about, oh, how mad we was about that. That's not, we the only people out here talking about this people is like Maggie Miller Jenkins, Anthony Rogers Wright,
Independence.
independents that are like, no, she's on the same tip. They just signed a whole
Warmongering.
bunch of more money to send weapons to Gaza.
Billions. And it's only escalating. So yeah.
Tony Johnson in the chat says Trump and young conservatives have a vibe of entrepreneurship and independence that attracts younger voters. What I'm reading is that younger voters are more attracted to being an independent than conservative, but there is big swaths of young conservatives, that, yeah, they're about it. He says, and young people love to be seen and heard. Look at the social media, and you will see more young conservatives being active than young Democrats. That's every year.
Mm-hmm.
Voter registration numbers are key too. Yeah. Mama God said she rolled out some issues last week. Yeah, I did hear that, and have only been out there less than a month. She did roll a couple things out that she said, but she started light, and she didn't get to genocide yet. So, we're, what do you want to say there? Mike Lee says, I would say that till the convention, when the process first started, don't think they wasn't trying to bypass VP Harris for someone else. She did the work, united the party, energized. Okay. Uh, energized the conversation. I believe we will hear more on the issue, and know she's out of his shadow. And now that she's out of his shadow, as far as being her own candidate, the convention is where I think this ticket will make its case. Convention's happening now.
Yeah.
We have a correspondent on deck, Miss Kimra Snipes. We have our Senator Terrell McKinney, who is there, that we will hear from when he gets back.
Mm.
Who's going to watch it? Anybody going to pay attention?
I do want to acknowledge somebody else in the chat also that says they're making their way down there.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Mike Lee in the
Oh,
chat.
okay, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. And he's actually dropped some news. There's been a couple things going on in the chat that I wanted to acknowledge in that
Please
regard.
do.
But Brother Mike Lee in the chat, let's see. He says, it was talking to camera, says, I'm on my way up there. It says, hey, camera, I'm on the way. I'd love to come on if you're doing any reporting on the DNC as Black Caucus chair, and about organizing and building Black political power, which is really the main issue that we're kind of talking about, as far as, issues. What about, our issues that matter to our community? Who's really going to acknowledge those? And, although the posturing from the Democratic Party is that they will do that, is not always the case. So definitely would love to hear from, you, Mike Lee, as a Black Caucus chair and somebody at the DNC, your take on a lot of these issues, and how do we actually do that as far as building a Black political power, so called. He also says that it'll be nice if the city couldn't implement resolution on percentage of land ownership, um,
Mm.
each district on out of state land ownership, and are trying to establish what exactly affordable housing looks like. To which somebody asks, or Brother Anthony Rogers is right, asks if Mike Lee is running for Juanita's seat. To which he says, dropping some news, yes, I'm seriously considering running for Omaha City Council seat, which would initially be, or essentially be, Councilwoman Juanita Johnson's seat.
Whoa. Okay.
So there you go on that tip.
Is that some breaking news here on First Sky Omaha right there, brother
As
Mike?
far as I know, but let us know if you made that announcement
Yeah.
elsewhere. Further up, he says, I don't think it's complacency. I think it's just that we have a better candidate. So I like everything about VP Harris. No, do I like everything about VP Harris? No, but I love my democracy more. And I just frankly like that Democrats are fighting back. Again, kind of alluding to some of the comments from Trump saying this might be the last time that people get to or have to vote. Some people, are actually excited about not having to vote and the possibility of having a dictator. These are conversations that I personally had with people who have told me, like, yeah, maybe we need a dictator. Maybe we need somebody to kind of take the reins and to lead things where they feel like it needs to be led, which I'm not too excited about that prospect. But also, am I am I excited about what I'm hearing from Harris or seeing from Democrats? Not particularly. As far as I'm concerned, it's more the same.
I like where Marlon Harris and Sean McCarthy are going in the chat. It says Marlon Harris says also remember it's not just about the president out here making decisions, but also local politicians like Senator Terrell McKinney, Preston Love. You get some blue hearts, some blue thumbs up on that. That's what that looks like if you're wondering. Sean McCarthy says Obama faced that issue of voter apathy during his 8 years. As an individual, he gained a ton of enthusiasm, but he did not have Obama-like senators and Congress people to ensure his policies passed. He also could have done a thing or two more, in my opinion, on top of that. But yeah, I definitely can see that, man. The route I was just telling somebody that too. What it feels like right now with Kamala Harris is what it felt like, oh, Barack Obama might get it. People still the fire that started up around that time. Judy Prinzler says we have to do everything we can to get Kamala elected done. So she, ain't no about to doubt it. Like Larry Graham says, ain't no about to doubt it. She says, done deal. Got to get her in.
Drop the mic.
There you go. Also, later he says, Anthony Rogers Rice says later for the identity reductionism. Are you telling me that if Candace Owens ran, that we should support her just because she's black and a woman? That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, you can't deny the excitement of the fact that it's a black woman, but that can't be the only thing.
Right.
For all the way, sure. More nuanced. And just to mention, before I get to that, let me get to some more. Brother Mike Lee in the chat says it's the people running for office job to give voters a reason to vote. So okay, so we're talking about is it the voters' responsibility? I still put it on the voters to be informed. You got to inform yourself. You can't just go in there and make such a big decision based on how it is you feeling about something. You got to think about this. Like Stephen Abraham in the chat. Good morning. He says, "Be an informed voter. You can't just vote off your so somebody's jawline is good. So they've said that kind of stuff.
I would definitely put it more on the voters. To ask the tough questions, to hold people accountable, to kind of hold a bar for who you want to lead you, and who you want not even necessarily to lead you, but even just to represent you.
Right.
That's who do you want to represent you? Do you feel like is that an accurate representation of what it is that you care about, what you want to present at that level? Because I'm just thinking about it from the if I want to win this position and I know that I can do X, Y, and Z and have these performative things, and there's certain things I don't necessarily have to do in order to win. I'm gonna do what I have to do to win. Like that's just the nature. That's human nature. I get into this thing. I'm whatever it is. I'm wholehearted into this thing, whether it's navigating through the corporate world or becoming a content creator or in politics, whatever the game is. I'm gonna learn how to play the game, and I'm gonna play the game. That's just human nature. So I can't really, yes, I don't necessarily fully agree with it, but I understand, from a politics standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about representation more than anything else, like how important representation is, I said earlier, it'd be great to have a black woman, but that can't be the only thing.
Right.
And the reason why I feel like I had to say that is because I feel like for some people it is the only thing. I remember that feeling about Obama as well. People kind of overlooked what some of the things he was talking about a little bit because it was like it's more important that the black man gets in there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm feeling that same way about this situation here. Just representation, but the way that our society responds to representation just took me back to the concert I was just at last night or night before last. Uh, I got hip to the Roots and Diggable Planets in the Far Side at a time in my life that was the most influential time of my life. You know how
Mm.
you there's certain ages that
Formative
you
years.
are the formative years of music, especially music. You get into a certain kind of music because of of the year that a certain kind of music hits you. You're just a product of your generation because of that fact. When I think, you know, I made a post like Diggable Planets was so important to me back in the day. I wear suede Pumas to this day because of that, because
Mm.
of their their whole aesthetic and what they described and so on. And when I think about representation, I think about stuff like that. I think about like we're very used to being like walking around with a Metallica shirt on, like you know, hard. This represents me. You know what I'm saying? And you get a lot of this from, you know, in hip hop, especially Tupac, Biggie, you know, who you identifying with, who's representing you, who's representing Brooklyn. All these things are huge to everybody all the time. And so, why wouldn't a politician play on on those things? Why wouldn't they play on those things? It's a play, but it's also a play that we respond to in a big way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely respond to that all the time. If somebody black is running, that's going to be number one. We're going to feel like, okay, let's see what's up after that. I'm saying let's not shy away from the fact that that pulls on our emotions. Let's lean into that, and then but then also add on, you know, but also what are the issues that they're standing on, because all skin folk ain't your kin folk.
Mm-hmm.
What are they standing on top of that? We can't deny. We can't go around here acting like that's not going to be a factor. It's going to be a factor, and it might even be a factor that's enough of an important factor for somebody to make that decision on standing on that right now. Just hope for the best. But you
Yeah.
know, there was a lot of drones dropping bombs on people during Obama's
Man.
situation. Even
And
though,
Biden.
no matter how excited we were about Obama getting in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. And kind of felt the closest that we've ever felt to civil war under Trump. So, which and is and I want to kind of push this conversation forward into what G. Miller Jenkins is saying, and a few other people have alluded to, as far as this whole third party and this independent, and is this the time, the point in the democracy where everybody kind of signals a breakaway from that lesser of two evils? G. Miller Jenkins says, "I'm voting third party. Absolutely not voting for either genocidal regimes. We're finally playing the long game and organizing around the third party beyond an election year. Long time coming, but we're connecting now." And I'm just curious as to what does that look like? I definitely appreciate and understand the sentiment as far as breaking away from the duopoly, if you will. But what does that mean? What does that look like? We've had this conversation several times as far as she says the third party, which kind of the is a definite article. It's kind of signifying oneness, singularity, but
Mhm.
it's a spectrum. Like, what is the third party stand for? Is the third party
Yeah,
just the pure middle, or what? What does that mean?
right. Yeah, that's huge too, definitely. Because a lot of I know some people that went independent, even some senators of ours that went independent. That I feel like their independent means they're kind of Republican and kind of, you know what I'm saying, like
Mm-hmm.
the middle in that sense. There's another sense of independent, which is just the Bernie Sanders independent, like straying way far away from anything that's happening here. Some people call it extreme left, but really it's kind of a way that people are breaking all the way away from it. So we've heard Jill Stein talk about this all the time. Dr. Jill Stein, put some respect on her name. We see that all the time. We hear that all the time. It's not just like I want to bring both parties together, and I want to be in the center here, and I'll take some of the Republican stuff, some of the Democrats, some, is it a full departure? What is it that you mean by that, by the the independent party? What does that look like? It's a really great question, as a matter of fact. So yeah, appreciate everybody that's jumping in on here. I want to take a quick breather just to smell the coffee beans, just to come
Mm-hmm.
down for a second. Anthony Rogers Wright in the chat a little earlier talked about Fred Hampton. And if you guys don't know who Chairman Fred Hampton is, he's a brother who
Man,
got assassinated by the police. A young brother. I don't think he made it to 22 or something, 23. How old was he when he died? Like 21, 22?
early 20s. Yeah, brother was
Yeah,
young.
he was such a heavy leader in the Black Panther Party, and he was rallying folks to where you could not even believe what was going on. He was really making a change in our country when it came to what it was that he did and said. This is the month he was assassinated. I believe it was on the 30th. I believe he got assassinated in August. And yeah, it came out later. Man, COINTELPRO and all these powers that be decided he needed to go. Sent the police to go do the job. Shot him up while he was laying in bed asleep.
Man,
Assassinated him. This was a very powerful brother. In the few years that he was a leader, he developed the Rainbow Coalition. He saw early on that we need to get black folks, poor white folks, and other people of color together because our numbers are bigger than any of these powers that be are, and we need to put that together. And when that started happening, they started getting real nervous. And next thing you know, something happened to him. So he brought that up. Anthony Rogers Wright brought him up early, and I just thought, this is somebody who we always talk about too, who we always are giving his props. He said assassinated by the government. Let's put that in bold terms. Assassinated by the government. It has come out. It has come out in documents. This is a known fact. This is not conspiracy theory. He was assassinated by the government. Master Miller Jenkins said, and this is what we're doing again. She also says, was talking about what I was talking about. He formed the Rainbow Coalition, and that's why he was assassinated by the government. They did not like. When you think about the structure, we talk a lot about race and talk about the structures of race, and we talk about the caste system. We talk about the reason why race was invented. We talk about all these things, and we see that one of their tactics was they needed to take European people and separate them out, the servants, and separate them out from the people of color, and say you are above them. And that's how they separated us. When a cat like Fred Hampton came back on the scene and worked to reunite and made people see we are under the same thumb as you are, as y'all are. Let's all get together and fight this. They knew that their system was about to crumble and assassinated him. Man. So died. Thank you, Mama God. Died December 4th, 1969. Assassinated at 21 years old. Man. Shows you how powerful. From 17 to 21, that brother was the most powerful cat in America. So we always honor his memory when it comes around. This is also Black August. I want to remind people. If you don't know what Black August is, look it up. I'm not even going to talk about it right now. Look up what Black August is about. We'll talk about it next show and talk about what we're going to do about Black August this year and everything else as well. So just kind of wanted to break off a little bit and remember that there are good things going on, like Brother Kasim out here at the BAA, the Black Agenda Alliance, taking these kids and giving them skills. We used to make jokes about kids that don't know how to hunt, fish, build, do nothing, play video games. Here's a brother who's out here adding to their knowledge of electronics and video games and tech with some life skills, with some outside skills, putting up tents, putting up greenhouses, growing food. Shout out to him at the BAA. If you want to talk about boost to the roots help for kids, especially our children out here in Omaha, especially with what's going on with them, these are people that are doing it. I also want to give a shout out to the Empowerment Network, who just successfully just announced their successful round of Step Up. Got 4,000 kids jobs. That's another factor too. It's not just the skills, but it's also the job skills. It's also the making money skills. It's all everybody. They need the whole gamut. They need all of it. They need to be on sports teams, learn how to work together. They need to learn how to hunt, fish. They need to learn how to make money. They need to learn how to do all these things to survive in our society. So shout out to these organizations that sometimes are on either end of the spectrums, but still with the goal of trying to help young Black people, especially, thrive. So shout out to these organizations. Right, make it happen. So just wanted to bring that in real quick at 8:49 right now, if you believe in the concept of time. And I really appreciate. Oh, okay, man, we got some other folks in there talking about Brother Fred. Fred, that's right. Fred Hampton Jr. still doing the work. That's right. Fred Hampton Jr. There you go. That's what's up. Mama God says, yeah, Paul, he was born August 30th, so you're on track. Yeah, yeah. Died December 4th, 1969. So we're coming up on his birthday. That's what the August 30th is. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Rogers Price says Chairman Fred was not a race reductionist either. He was organizing with the Young Patriots, and who were rural white anti-capitalist white folk. There you go. There you go. Fighting against the caste system in a big way, recognizing it, fighting against it, and figuring out how to get his voice up and boldly go out. You say you can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution.
Man.
So shout out Fred Hampton. Appreciate you guys reminding us to bring him up. Like I said, we'll talk more about Black August coming up. With 10 minutes left in the show, buddy, where do you feel like going right now with everything that we are seeing in the chat? We both can't keep up with the chat today.
Yeah, chat's going off. So big shout out to everybody commenting in the chat. We definitely appreciate the conversation going off here in the second hour as we hoped it would. So again, we appreciate you. I did want to acknowledge kind of where we're going as far as education, and this is actually a pretty decent lead in to a couple of stories that I had just to mention before we get out of here. Tony Johnson in the chat says groups in other areas recognize Black August through their schools and civic organizations. In August, Omaha is always late to the game. But there are some changes going on across Nebraska that might help, again, with those education and just righting some wrongs, if you will. Again, he wasn't able to make it, but I want to give a shout out to Senator Justin Wayne for one change that's being reported by Omaha Royal Herald as far as the maps go, which, again, representation matters. And this might be a small thing to some, but again, it has been a point of conversation and people pointing out certain maps being used in schools that makes certain geographical areas seem larger than others and not necessarily being accurate. And this goes right along lock and step with what's been happening nationally with certain books being banned and just the direction overall of education. It seems like this is a step in the right direction. So again, shout out to Senator Justin Wayne, who proposed legislation arguing that the Mercator projection maps, which are widely used in schools, have given generations of students a misleading understanding of the world. The maps make areas closer to the North and South poles appear larger in comparison to areas closer to the equator. As a result, for example, Alaska appears to be the same size as Australia, although it's actually 4 times smaller. Also, Great Britain appears to be the same size as Madagascar, which is actually half the size. Of course, most namely, this makes Africa look even smaller, which also distorts just the viewpoint, worldwide viewpoint of Africa and those who come from African countries, and kind of dictates that conversation and all. So again, might be a small thing, but again, Paul, I don't know if you remember our conversations about social studies in schools and what those students were doing to really fight for representation and how their countries and how their heritages and cultures are depicted in certain areas of education. So again, this might be small to some, but it's actually a huger point than you would think.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, shout out to Justin Wayne. It's funny he always addresses this subject, and it's weird because he even knows that it feels like a small thing to some people, and they're all about it. And people, when I hear people oppose it, they're always like, "Well, what are we going to do? Go into all the social studies books and change all the maps?" And you basically like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. yes. You have to correct it. Has to be corrected. So again, a big shout out also. The Nebraska Board of Education has rolled out a new project. The Nebraska Literary Project or Literacy Project aims to boost learning test scores with the science of reading. Again, this coming from the Nebraska Education Board, who unveiled the Nebraska Literacy Project, which includes several initiatives to increase student reading scores and evidence-based reading instruction in school districts, not just in the Omaha area, but across the state. Allison Binbest, who's an academic officer with the Nebraska Department of Education, says, "We have a vision. The vision is to foster a culture of proficient and lifelong readers in Nebraska and unlock student potential for learning, earning, and living through a focus on evidence-based instruction." The goals are part of an increasing national momentum for states to improve low reading scores by updating practices and curriculum to align with the science of reading, which is a body of research about how humans learn to read and how student reading should be taught according to the International Literacy Association. This is something that is of importance and definitely to lower income communities and income communities of color, quote unquote, if you will. If you remember our prior conversation with Dr. Umar Ifatunde, formerly known as Johnson, in reminding us the connection between literacy rates, reading levels, and the preschool to prison pipeline. As he mentioned again, if you're not at level, if not sufficient or proficient by the third grade, then the chances of you going to prison from there grow exponentially. So, and also reminding folks that data did come out recently about the graduation rates and OPS specifically, and not looking good to say the least. So again, any effort to increase literacy, especially in our communities, should be welcomed.
Most def. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about with the map, I'll put some up on the screen here. This is kind of like what we usually have seen
Yeah.
throughout our education and existence. This is kind of an example of the map that they're trying to replace, which is a more accurate version of how much land mass there is. As you can see, America is nowhere near the size of Africa, even on this map. And this map's not totally accurate either. It's actually twice this. It's actually 1.5 times bigger than this. Same thing with Australia. They always make Australia look like it's super small because it's down on the curvature of the bottom of the map there, but it's actually a very large place as well. So there's and in saying that, we got to remember there's a large indigenous population that have been there all this time too, trying to survive the colonization. Maggie Miller Jenkins in the chat said that about the colonization as well. She said the maps we currently use was specifically designed to depict colonizing places as larger.
Yep.
So yeah, there's there's reason behind that, then there's reason to get rid of that, to change that, to right that wrong. And if they put that much effort into making it that way in the first place, they can put that much effort into fixing it, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah.
Which, there you go.
Just to kind of wrap it up, and the larger conversation that we've been having, again, that is kind of in the backdrop of this whole Trump versus Kamala, conversation, is people wanting certain histories and certain perspectives on history and certain realities to stay realities, and for certain things not to change, which is always my question. When people are talking about conservatives, like, what are you trying to conserve? What are you trying to make great again? It's all part of the conversation.
A person that's trying to make things great again in a certain district, at the very least, Ashley Spivey is running for Nebraska. She's having a family fun day August 25th at Orchard Park, 66 in Hartman. Definitely check her out. Enjoy free food, games, an opportunity to chat about her vision for her district and state. So this is going to be in the district that she's trying to run for, which is right now Senator Justin Wayne is presiding over. He's term limited out. He's out after this term, and she's running for that area. She's been all over town doing some good work, and you already know her from I Be Black Girl and everywhere else. She recently reached out to us, letting us know that she thinks that what we're doing is important and wants to partner with us on helping her get the word out. And this is what I feel politicians need to be doing. Volunteering their information about where they stand on things, coming and asking questions, talking to people directly, having people ask questions that they can answer directly. And I gravitate towards people who answer without the spin. As soon as somebody comes on spinning, I'm turned off. Yep. I'm turned off. So shout out to Ashley for being first of all, a real human being, powerful Black woman, doing big things in the community long before she decided to run for office, and is now running for office so she can try to make some kind of change and difference. And hopefully we'll have her on again soon to talk more. So appreciate that. There's events going on. Terry Crawford says Malcolm X. First of all, good morning, Ms. Crawford. Malcolm X Memorial Foundation has a lot of Black August events planned to go to the website and show up. I did see they had a lot of big things planned this month, so definitely check that out. Appreciate them for holding it up as well. Like I said, if you don't know what Black August is, please look it up. Yeah. We'll definitely discuss it more on Wednesday and all through the month of August if we can. So, yep. Other than that, man, we're coming to the end of it. Like I said, lots of good conversation. If you miss any of this, definitely go back and check out the conversation that's happening in the chat. Very insightful. Very the back and forth was strong, even though it was done with love, and it's because these are important. We have to put the weight on a lot of these issues that we're not putting the weight on. It can be real easy for us to say, this is the reason why we like something. It's light, it's fun, it's cool, it's good. We're hyped about it. We're happy about it. And I don't want to take our joy away. I want us to live in that joy as well. But also remember
Mhm.
that there are bigger things at stake. We have to learn how to deal with these things at the same time. The excitement and joy about a thing, but also the reality and the realness about what's really happening and what we need to actually change. And don't be afraid to bring that up during the joy. So
Big time.
that's my final words on the situation. Appreciate you guys bearing with us through the tech situation here. Like I said, I'm on the road, and so I wanted to come in and do this in a different way. It's not my usual setup, but I wanted to do it in a way that we can still have this conversation because I really thrive, especially the Monday ones. It kind of sets my week. It sets my week on the right track to be
Yeah,
able
man.
to work some of these things out with you. I might have been hyped about the rally, the Walls rally all week long. Anthony Rogers Wright gonna come in and be like, "Yeah, but what about the genocide?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, you're right." You know what I
Man.
mean? So
Need the
hey,
voice of reason. Need the
we
voice of
need
reason.
man. You can get caught up in your own head with stuff, so we need each other. So I appreciate all y'all for real.
Big time, big time. It definitely is goes a long way being able to have this conversation, come to some conclusions together, or come to some conclusions on our own, and be equipped with the language to go out and have these conversations with our loved ones, man. So that's what it's about. Each one teaches one. Make sure you tell a friend and tell a friend to come check us out. Mama God, I know you're gonna get on us. We didn't really remind people, but definitely make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, yeah. Check us out. Hit the
Yeah,
notification bell on YouTube to stay on top of everything that we have coming up, man. Again,
yeah,
big shout out to everybody who has responded positively to what's going on with the weekly wrap, our newsletter. Again, if you have not signed up for that, you can always hit us up at firstguyomaha at gmail.com. Just put newsletter in your subject line and, let us know that you're interested in signing up and we'll get you hooked up, man. Again, the weekly wrap newsletter, news, not just in our communities, but also things going on with us, things going on with our partners, and some other things that we want to roll out, maybe some polls and some other things to get a pulse on, get a finger on what's going on in the community. So again, let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Also, hit the notification bell. Stay tuned with our YouTube. Some more content coming that way. Some other stuff, some other news. Entities and content that we're putting together, some side content, and maybe even having a little fun and letting you know what's going on in our everyday life. Might catch some concert footage. You never know what you might catch, man. So again, check us out on YouTube. And then also big shout out to all of you who are dropping chats. Make sure you stay tuned in. We're friends of First Guy Omaha on Facebook.
yeah.
That's a perfect way to continue the conversation in between the shows. So again, we thank you. We love you. Catch the same time, same place, Monday, Wednesday, here on First Guy Omaha in the morning. And of course, the weekly wraps on Fridays. So in the meantime, between time, Paul B,
Yo, yo.
what say you, man? What say
Something
you?
else to check out too, brother. Brother Anthony Rogers Wright. You want to hear more about what he has to say? Full Spectrum with yours truly launches tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and
Hey,
we'll be speaking with Sister Queen Mika from the MX Center, Malcolm X Center, this Thursday. In addition to being on the ground in Chi-Town,
nice.
so yeah, more coverage, more things to check out, and more people to talk to. We need all the Black media we can. I'm very happy about Full Spectrum launching, and you can hear more about what Brother Anthony Rogers Wright has to say. And I can't wait to hear, Shamika Gray or one of the homies from the Mind and Soul days and the
Man.
First Sky days as well, still doing her thing over there at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. Queen Mika, I love the new name. I'm gonna definitely refer to her as Queen Mika from now on. She's dope. She's also part of the undesigned or the red line undesigned red line exhibit
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and film and stuff too. So she's been very active this whole time, and we really appreciate her. Remember the Doug and Mika show from back in the day?
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah,
remember that?
yeah.
So shout out to Anthony Rogers Wright, man, for coming in doing the work as well. Definitely check him out. I'm assuming that you can check that out on YouTube or where podcasts are found.
Let
Let
us
us
know.
know. Put that in Friends of First Sky Omaha, and we really appreciate that very much. Pop says, "Awesome show. See you all Wednesday. Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate you guys coming in and definitely share the show and let people know that Wednesday we're going to have brother Emaya on to talk about some of the issues between our community and the police, some things that's happened there, and also to catch up with brother Hassani Lee and rally up and make sure that we get as much support for him down at the courthouse as we can. Fight the towers. It's still going on. And also, just speaking of which, I want to remind you, we still have inventory here of the public housing Fight the Towers shirt that you can purchase from us by going ahead and sending us an email at firstsky@gmail.com, and somebody will reach out to you on that. Part of the proceeds go to the Underwood Tenants Group that Brother Hassani Lee is heading up. If you remember him, he's the brother who's fighting for his father over at the Underwood Towers to better those conditions, bad conditions going on over there, and he's really trying to help put things together so that they can live have a better existence over there for all tenants in OHA. So shout out to him, and hopefully we'll be talking to him on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's not just the OHA. There's a story we'll be talking about on Wednesday. I'll save it. That'll be perfect for Wednesday. Talking about the Rose Manor residents in Midtown apartment building, kind of dealing with similar conditions. So again, it's not just public housing, but just in general, tenants renting, just trying to keep a roof over their head,
man,
without holes in it. Yeah, we'll talk about that more on Wednesday, man. Y'all take care.
That's what's up. All right, appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to get out of here. Thanks to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. Thanks to our elders for allowing us to speak before you. And thanks to you, the chat chimers, allowing us to speak with you. Can't wait to do it again on Wednesday. You guys take care of each other. Stay cool. The weather's supposed to be good. Enjoy it. You know, we don't got but a few good days in Omaha, Nebraska.
It's supposed to be darn good, that part. Darn good.
Thanks for all your input, y'all. We'll see you Wednesday.
Peace.
Peace.
By the glorious. This is protected by the red